Hello, welcome to another video from EarnPed.com. I am Stevie B, and we are on Planet Arkadia. I am at the Celeste Harbor Military HQ, and today we're going to check out the GoldRush 2023 event. Now, this event runs all the way until November 27th, so let's go ahead and check it out. So, we're at Celeste Harbor Military HQ, which is where we first land on Planet. We're going to go to the AAkas teleporter, AAkas, however you pronounce it, which for those of you that do not have it, it is over here in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. Let's take some big sips. Let's just get this one started off right. And this is the AAkas teleporter. So back behind me over here, we've got the Dragon Skull Cave that pops out of the ground. There's some instances down there. Those are where we find the normal AAkas instances. We're not interested in that. Today we want the GoldRush instance, which is over here with the big giant GoldRush statue. And the quest giver is right over here. Now, we talked about this in the video the other day, how this competition works. We talked to the quest giver. Now, keep in mind that the crafting mission and the hunting mission go throughout the entire event. So the crafting and mining portion, crafting up top, mining on bottom, crafting and mining are not timed. They are throughout the entire event. Most points win. Mining, the bigger claim you get, the more points are possible. Crafting, the higher the TT value of the item you craft, the more points possible, which is why a lot of people will be crafting level 13 mining finder amplifiers, D-class mining amplifiers. People will be crafting pre-amped limited mining finders. You'll also see some EP4 crafting, even though explosive projectiles are like essentially penalized or debuffed when it comes to gaining points. You'll be see EP4 crafting on condition to then turn around and use the EPs to craft shrapnel via recycle blueprints on condition, hoping for some very big hits. Because again, crafting does not have a time limit. Same with mining. Mining has no time limit. So you will see people using those D-class and level 13 amps on pre-amped mining finders. You'll see a lot of people mining in the underground and on the moon. Since that's indoor mining, high risk, high reward, you'll only get 5 hits for every 100 drops you do. But those hits will be significantly larger than normal. But with hunting, which is the instance we're going to check out, it's different. It's not a event-wide thing. You go into the instance and it immediately starts the clock counting down a 12-hour run. You can do up to 10 12-hour runs, so it will essentially record your score for 12 hours. Higher the score, the better. And then at the end of 12 hours, it says, okay, 12 hours has passed. What's the score? Done. That's run 1. Run 2 will immediately start. And for the next 12 hours, it will record a score. And then at the end of that 12 hours, it will say, okay, that's the score for run 2. If you keep hunting, then for the next 12 hours, it will record a score and say, okay, well, that's run 3. So you can do up to 10 runs of 12 hours each. It does not matter which of the runs has the highest score. Whichever is the highest score out of the 12 runs you do, that will allow you to have the highest score put up against everybody else's highest score. So once we get these missions, we do not want to abandon them. Now, for giggles, I'm going to see if I can go into the instance without getting the mission, because I really don't want to compete. So let's just see if I can go in. No, it will not let me in. So I do have to have the mission. And we cannot abandon these missions. Once we get them, we have to keep them. So crafting, mining, hunting. Now, it wants me to pick a category. So, if I have less than 145 HP, I can go into category 1. I know it says 140 HP. That is a typo. It's 145 HP. For category 2, I would have to have less than 200 HP. For category 3, I would have to have less than 300 HP. And for category 4 is unrestricted. Just for giggles, let's see if it will let me... It will not let me, so I'm going to have to go with this one. So category 3. So run 1, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit out of these two. So notice it says run 1, points, and it's got hours and minutes. And since I'm not in the instance, the points counter has stopped. Now, here's the thing. It really doesn't do me a lot of good to go in the instance because I'm not really equipped to kill the creatures of that level. Creatures in the Category 1 instance, I believe, are level like 7 and 13, which is what I wouldn't mind grinding out right now. But in Category 3, the creatures, I believe, are level 50-something. You know what? I'm not competing in this, so let's just go in and see anyway. So it automatically takes me in. I've got 6 hours in the instance. So I would essentially be able to do 2 full 6-hour instances for a 12-hour run. Points counter has started. And yep, they are level 55. So let's go ahead and let's scan one. Let's see what the scanner says. So 300 stamina, that's 3,000 HP. Yeah, this is not going to work for grinding. I'm just not interested in grinding out level 55 creatures. But this is what the inside of the instance looks like. So we have the Mogurgs. They're level 55. These are just the basics. And then see these big claw-like things over here? This is where you can get the boss ones to spawn every now and then. And inside this instance, they would be level 100 and something. So inside the level 1 instance, these guys are only going to be level 7. And the boss ones are going to be like level 13. I wouldn't mind going into the first instance to grind them out a little bit for some codex, but this makes no sense to even attempt for me because I'm not competing. If I was competing, I wouldn't mind doing this. But since I'm not competing, this makes no sense to even attempt. So let's take a look at the Hall of Fame. Now, keep in mind, Hall of Fame is across the entirety of the game. It's not only here on Planet Arkadia. We also do have Mayhem finishing up today. It actually finishes tomorrow morning, so there's some people in there still grinding Mayhem out. I finished the Regulate chain late last night. So it looks like most people who I would expect to be competing in this event are probably still dealing with Mayhem. If you're going to be coming into this instance, you've got your revive point over here, your trade terminal right here, your repair terminal over here, same on this side, and then the exit is going to be right here, this golden statue in the corner. I know it's kind of confusing. You don't want to come in here and not know where the exits are. The exits are these golden GoldRush statues in the corners. Now, ideally, if you're competing, you're not going to want to mess with those. If you're competing, what you're going to want to do is come in, do the full 6-hour instance all out, and then whenever the instance times out, you'll just come in and do another 6-hour instance. So it looks like as long as I'm standing up here, as long as I'm in this room, it looks like the counter is stopped. See, the points counter is stopped and the timer is stopped. Whenever I step outside of the room, the points counter is started and the timer is started. Interesting. So if I'm in the room at the top, then the timer is stopped and so are the points counter. But if I leave the room, then both the timer and the points counter run. Very interesting. But again, if you're going to do this, this is going to be something where most likely you're going to want to do 2 full 6-hour instances, assuming that you can do that without having to repair your weapon. So I'm going to go ahead and exit the instance. Now, if you are coming to do GoldRush, I will let you guys know I do have damage enhancers on auction. I've got mining finder range enhancers on auction, which are very hard to get your hands on. I've got depth enhancers on auction. I've got Mayhem amplifiers on auction, both laser and BLP, alpha, betas, gammas, deltas. I've got Salafa MK3 laser sights. I've got 2 full TT Salafa MK3s available, and then I've got 2 that are 82.7%. And I'm not letting these things go cheap. There's no point. I've got the blueprint to craft these now, and trying to get the inputs to craft these is horrendous. The inputs for these things have horrendous markup, and the losses from crafting these are extensive. So the full TT ones are 1,250 ped each, and the same markup will apply to the ones that are 82.7%. But if you want to run this all out, you can dual wield them. I do have them. I'm not going to be hanging out on Arkadia. I'll be bouncing over here every now and then to refill the auctions, but I'm going to be heading to Cyrene. I will probably not list the Salafisites on auction. It will probably be a private sell, so if you're interested in those, hit me up. But let's look at the Hall of Fame, and it looks like most of the people who I would expect to be competing are not yet competing. It looks like they're still grinding out Mayhem. ZZ Marshall has the BC 120 FEN, so I would expect him to be competing. Jenna White Fantasy, I expect to be competing and clearly still doing Mayhem. G Jack Bam, I assume, as well as Helena Fra, I assume they will both be competing and they're still doing Mayhem. So keep in mind that with the hunting portion, again, it's 10 runs of 12 hours each. The highest score of those 10 runs is the score that is compared to everybody else's highest score. So you don't necessarily have to come to the hunting portion right when the gates open. If you're somebody who's competing for crafting or mining, that's different. You would have wanted to have been here 2 mornings ago when the gates open to get started immediately. Melith will probably be competing. Boohoo will definitely be competing. So Solo is still doing Mayhem. So it looks like a lot of the hunters have not even bothered to come to Arkadia yet. A lot of the hunters are still doing Mayhem. If they're here, they're not in the instance. They're doing Mayhem instead. Justin Gamer Esposito is still doing Mayhem. So it looks like a lot of the people that I would expect to be doing the hunting portion are not here yet. However, with with crafting and mining, it's different. We can see that there's already been a find of 2,702 ped of Veticore, 2,390 ped of Banite, 2,227 ped of Sankra alloy, 2,111 ped of Arkan pellets. So a lot of this stuff, Edries resin, a lot of this stuff is from here on Planet Arkadia, or specifically Planet Arkadia Underground. So a lot of what we're seeing in the Hall of Fames for mining are indeed from Planet Arkadia. So there are a lot of people competing in the mining section that are already here, because again, the mining competition goes the entirety of the event. Kimset, that's here on Arkadia. Crotal Extrusion here on Arkadia. Yularim Stones, I believe, is Arkadia also. So already a lot of people competing on the mining section. As far as crafting, level 3 Finder Amplifier. This is almost certainly somebody on Planet Arkadia competing in the crafting section, and that's going to be a big hit. That's going to be a lot of points for them. The Precision Scope is quite possibly somebody competing here on Arkadia, but not for certain. We're seeing a lot of shrapnel on here, and it's hard to tell, are these just regular shrapnel, or is this people that are doing it as part of the competition here? Hard to say. But over the next couple of days, what we will indeed see, especially over like the next week, is we will see a lot of D-class Hoffs. We will see a lot of level 13 Mining Finder Hoffs. We will see a lot of EP4 and shrapnel Hoffs, obviously, from Recycle Blueprints. So indeed, it looks like most of the stuff today is shrapnel so far. So given how much of this is shrapnel, and given the names I'm seeing, I would assume that a lot of this shrapnel recycling and crafting is being done here on Planet Arkadia. But again, I can't be 1,000% certain of that just yet. The Terra Amp 10 one right here, number 62, this is almost certainly done on Planet Arkadia. In fact, I would almost be willing to bet money that Arkadia here is probably going to be the person who takes first place for the crafting competition. I would almost be willing to bet money on that. Arkadia is one of the highest level, if not the highest level crafters in the game. Oh, congratulations, Granny, on hitting Hoff on D-class mining amps. Congrats. So a lot of people on Arkadia crafting, although these aren't the kind of numbers I will expect to see for the remainder of the competition. But again, we're only less than 48 hours in, so this makes sense. A lot of DSEC Seeker L30 Limiteds, that's a preamped finder. Some Terra Amp 6s, some Terra Amp 8s. So pretty much what we expected. So that being said, guys, I am pretty much completely burned out on doing the events at the moment. I have so many goals in game already, so many things I've been working on in game. I just really don't have a desire to do another event. I have literally been doing Mayhem for the past 2 weeks straight. I even took a week off work to do Mayhem, and I'm just Mayhemmed out. GoldRush is a great event. If you're not somebody who participates in Mayhem, this is a good one because, like I said, once you get into that instance, especially if you're a lower level player who can go into Category 1, if you have less than 145 HP and can get in Category 1 for those level 7 and 13 mobs, then those mobs drop both account-bound 1 hour 100% skill gain skill pills, and they also drop Arcoin. Arcoin are great for getting gear out of vendors, but they're also great for getting your smuggler gear if you're going to want to be going into the Smuggler Genetics Lab on Arkadia Moon regularly in the future. So I'm going to leave it there. That's just kind of a first glance at the event. If I see stuff happening on the Hoff board as it goes, that I see people hitting big hits in crafting and mining that are going to be taking a lead in the event, it looks like, I will let you guys know in future videos. Personally, I am going to be heading back to Planet Cyrene. Like I said, the biggest reason I came was just to check out the instance and the competition, make this video for you guys, and put a lot of stuff on auction. I will try and bounce over here a couple of times over the next couple of weeks to refill the auction, but I'm going to be spending the vast majority of my time on Cyrene, working on the Cyrene video series and some of the goals that I have on Planet Cyrene. So I'm going to leave it there for today just to give you guys a glance at what I have on auction at the moment. Weapon Damage Enhancer 4, Accuracy Enhancer 1s, Mining Finder Depth Enhancer 1s, Range Finders 1, 2, and 3, and like I said, Mayhem, L amps, B amps, and M Matrix amps. So I've got more of just about all of that I will be listing. I've also got the Salafa MK3 laser sights, but those will not be on auction. Those will be private message only. So if you guys are needing anything, please holler at me as I'm on Cyrene, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump away. Until next time, sip, sip, smack, smack. Y'all know the rest. If anybody's going to be competing in any of the 3 categories, let me know in the comment section below which category you're going to be competing in. What is your strategy? Are you going to be using one of the strategies I mentioned in the last video? Will you be using a totally different strategy? Also, be sure and hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That keeps you up to date with all the newest content we post, the newest things going on in Entropia, the newest events and ways to play smarter, not harder. And hit the like button on every single video because it helps us combat the haters and the trolls that are out there. And by hitting all those buttons, you guys are really getting us more and more exposure to people who play these type of games and have these types of interests, but who've never heard of Entropia before. And they're starting to see the videos, watch the channel. It's their first exposure to Entropia, and we keep getting messages that more and more people are falling in love with this game for the very first time, all because you hit those buttons to help support us, and as a result, the videos popped up in front of them. So please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't already. Please hit the like button on this video and every other video we have, and we will be back with more for you later this week. Take care, guys.